gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Omar, are you ready to rumble? Conor Benn has just been defeated by Chris Eubank Jr. You can hear the decision.
Just scored the same, 116, 112. The winner by unanimous decision, Chris Eubank.
So, Eubank Ben 3. The Sons fought, and Chris Eubank had a huge weight advantage. What did you make of the catch weight contest? Did you understand the concept of why these guys have to lose or gain weight to get in the ring with each other?
Can you hear me, first of all?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you loud and clear, mate. No problem at all.
Great. I felt Eubank, he tricked the world with his, well, firstly, his father coming. We believed he wasn't going to come. I'm not sure what power or what information the father would have given him. Maybe it's a symbolic thing for the father to be there. Secondly, with the weight cut, Chris Eubank, he had a plan up his sleeve. He fooled us, he fooled you, and he fooled everybody. He was looking like a heavyweight champion right there in that ring. What do you think?
So, because he's coming down in weight, and Conor McGregor, Conor Benn is going up in weight. They agreed to fight at 160 pounds, and Eubank nearly made the weight, and he had two chances to make the weight. Didn't make it the first time, didn't make it the second time, but he very nearly got down to 160. If he just wanted to be heavier than the guy and be happy to pay the fine, why did he bother getting all the way down to 160.05 or whatever it was?
Well, perhaps
he should have just come in at 168 pounds and said, "Here's the fine."
I don't think
for the right to be heavy.
I don't think that there is a right to be heavy. I think the fight probably wouldn't have gone on if he was way heavier. If he's 3 or 4 stone over the weight that he should be, then
Well,
the fight
he got fined for missing the weight. Whether you miss it by 1 gram or... Oh, yeah, I wonder at what point would they have said this is a clear advantage and we
he couldn't have just... He couldn't have come in at 20 stone and paid the fine. And then that would be outrageous if he did. And I think you have some of these UFC fighters, in particular Jorge Masvidal. When he took on Kamaru Usman, what he did was he lost I think about 2 or 3 stone, I should say, in a week. And it's like
the weight cut in UFC can be even crazier sometimes. I mean, the whole point is that
if he can gain so much weight so quickly, if you can lose it, imagine how he's going to gain it. Now with Eubank, he could have gained a lot of weight in the last.
But they had a rehydration clause as well. So he had to make the limit of 160 pounds, and then the next day he couldn't be over 170. So they're trying to avoid this process where people lose a ton of weight overnight and then put it all back on because it's just water weight. So he had about 10 pounds to play with.
But
I don't know what he weighed in the ring.
But he still could have gained the weight back. It wasn't a day before. He still had 24 hours.
The weigh-in is the day before, and then he had another weigh-in on the day, and he was only allowed to put back about 10 pounds worth of weight, or he would have been fined again. So presumably he weighed again on the day in the morning or whatever and weighed 170, and then he probably went and ate and rehydrated even further. By the time he got in the ring, God knows what he could have been weighed at 175, maybe 180 pounds. So he was a lot bigger than Conor Benn. But it
And
sounds
I
like
can give you personal experience. We have something called Ramadan for 30 days where we don't eat from sunrise to sunset. As soon as the 30 days are up, on the 30th day, people seem to lose a lot of weight, but just a couple of days later, it all comes straight back again. So I
come
think
straight back on.
we,
I mean,
I
some
think
people
we are
gain
holding
weight in
back
Ramadan.
water weight, whatever that is.
But some people gain weight in Ramadan because if you eat the same amount as usual, but in a short window, the window of opportunity, sometimes your body sort of goes into starvation mode and doesn't want to lose the weight because it thinks that doesn't know when the next meal's coming in, even though it's coming
Well,
at
perhaps,
sunset.
but very popular. We have intermittent fasting. So that would kind of go to the opposite side of things that what you just mentioned. You said that the body goes into starvation mode, which is the right thing for it to do, but it restores weight. But for some reason, everyone in the world is doing it or partaking or is aware of this new fad, which is called intermittent fasting. Now, going back to the fight, do you think that we'll see a rematch?
Probably, if the money's right. AM is saying, "Hey everyone, hope you're fine." I'm absolutely fine. Conor Benn isn't. He's just been beaten by Eubank Jr. AM, if
Another
you want to
thing,
talk to us, click the link that's in the comments, and you can come and join us
yes, of
if you
course.
want.
And another thing there is that you said that Conor Benn isn't fine. Is he not fine? Has he not made tens of millions, perhaps? And
Good
is
point.
defeat is that a price? Are you willing to? Is there a price on defeat? I'm happy to lose for a few. I think even for a few thousand, I think I'll be okay. You can bribe me very easily.
Would you get in the ring?
But
Would you fight for money?
I don't know. I have to put everything at the back of my mind. Even through this fight, I couldn't get my mind completely off G-Man. You remember G-Man? Who
Who's
was
G-Man?
G-Man was the victim of Nigel Benn.
Oh, McClellan. Gerald
Yeah.
McClellan.
Jerry McClellan,
Yes.
yeah, they refer to him
Yeah.
as G-Man. And to render
Yes.
somebody blind, and I think Nigel Benn, and I hope he's not watching, that he gave him rabbit punches throughout the fight. They say, I mean, I'm not, somebody who's big in boxing, but they say that he gave him rabbit punches. And I actually remember watching that fight on ITV a
You did.
very long time ago, yeah. And those punches, the back of the head, and all this stuff, and poor guy. And then they had kind of this reconciliation years later, decades later. Perhaps you've seen it. It's very emotional. And I don't know if you really think about it, is it really worth it? And I guess, these guys are trained for it, but the G-Man was the best fighter in the world, they said, at the time. And if it can happen to him, I'm sure anything can happen to ordinary people like you and I. If you were fighting one of these opponents today, what would be your tactic?
For runaway. I don't think I could ever have been or ever would be at their world level or British. I mean, it wasn't a world title fight, but it's high level professional boxing, and it's explosive. I don't think I would want to be in the ring. I've shared the ring with a lot of decent boxers over the years, and a real solid punch to the head is it's a danger. It's dangerous, isn't it? It's brain cells. I don't know how
It
many
is
I've lost
dangerous, but
over the
I mean,
years.
how many do these guys take? They take many, and it makes me think it's not so dangerous. Am I wrong in my thinking as such?
I think the accumulative punishment over the years does do its damage, and in the case of Gerald McClellan and one of the Eubank Senior's opponents, Michael Watson, one
Michael
punch
Watson.
can change everything. Do you remember Danny Williams, British
Yeah.
heavyweight boxer? He beat Mike Tyson at the
Yes,
end
I
of his
remember him.
career.
Yeah, 2006 or seven, I think it was. Yeah.
A couple of his trainers, the guys I was good friends with through boxing, called Big T and Rahil, who run a club down in Mitcham, Big T ABC, and then they took on Danny Williams as his professional coaches. Sadly, Big T passed away last week, and I went to his funeral on Thursday. He was a lovely guy, great boxing trainer, and you would have seen him in the ring with Danny Williams in the later part of Danny's career, and the pair of them both helped a lot of young amateur boxers in the South London area, kids from rough backgrounds that needed that sort of outlet. And sad to hear that Tahir, his name was Tahir Hassan, I think the full name. I always knew him as Big T. He passed away suddenly last week, and I went to the funeral. And I saw people that I've not seen for 15, nearly, we're getting on for almost 20 years. Some of them, but boxing always brings people together. And if you've been in the ring with someone, or you've been around that sort of environment, I think it's a very close bond, especially if you've tried to knock them out and then shook their hand afterwards. That's
Well,
something
boxing brings people together.
boxing can bring.
Also,
Yeah.
funerals bring people together. It
Yeah,
seems every
that's
time we
right.
go to the funerals,
Funny enough,
we
yeah,
meet people we haven't seen for decades, and it turns into almost a party atmosphere. Unfortunately, the focus goes on to the people you've just met rather than the deceased, unfortunately. And I think some countries have, in the funerals, they have dances and so on, and there's others that have a consistent rhythm, this kind of macabre feeling of, hey, hold on, this can happen to me someday, and you focus solely on that person. Going back to boxing, it can, I think, when anyone gets into the ring, they know that anything can happen, but it's just like us any day. And this gentleman that you mentioned,
he was in
may
his
he rest in
50s, and he was
may he
in
rest
great
in
shape,
peace.
and that was mentioned. Uh, at the janaza, the imam mentioned that it's a reminder that you can be fit and healthy, and when your time comes. You don't assume that you're going to live until your 80s.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like, I don't know how to feel about that. I've heard that from imams and others who say that. But you see, when you make that a reality, see, they say the truth hurts. And it certainly does. When you make that into, when you put it into words and make it into real life, then, life really becomes miserable. You can't really have that type of thinking. You mentioned this gentleman, may he rest in peace. Being fit and healthy can't defeat death, but what it can guarantee almost is that up till his last days, he seemingly was in excellent health. Others don't. Others don't have that. I gave up the gym, although I joined the gym for 1 month just recently, and I haven't been. I went on the first day to join and haven't been back. I think so. It's another silly thing to do. But being fit and healthy we don't do that so we live longer necessarily. We do that so we have a good life. I mean, you've been going gym. I'm sure you'll elaborate more about this because you're obviously a MMA fighter and so on. But on my side, having this belly around this tie around my belly, and just being slightly overweight. I'm 14 stone and I need to be 13.7.
You're a cruiserweight.
I would be a cruiserweight. But, because of this fat I have, life is hell. You can't walk. And I'm sure if there's any other fatty people listening, they'll tell you that, just to lose it, just to kind of get it's so difficult. It's really, and it really hurts because you can't wear what you want to wear. You can't go for walks. Your back hurts. You can't sleep properly. You can't wake up properly. And in this consistent cycle that you just can't break off. But with the people who are fit and healthy, any day can be the last for anyone, but they will be happier until their last moment. Where the fatties, we will be miserable until our last moment.
Yeah, sometimes people that don't know about fitness, you'll tell them, I'm just going to the gym. And if you're a slim guy like me, they say, oh, you don't need to go to the gym, because they associate going to the gym with losing weight. But everyone should go to the gym, as you say, to have a happy, healthy life. And I've also heard it said that if you're going to the gym to lose weight, you're kind of you're doing something wrong already with what you're eating, because you should be able to maintain a healthy weight through what you have as nutrition without having to lose weight in the gym. The gym should be for other aspects of health. Yes, it's good to have good cardio and strength training, muscle tone, body fat percentage, but you shouldn't be having to exercise to burn off calories to maintain your weight. If you eat the right things, you can achieve a healthy weight. Does that resonate with you, or am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. But what I want to share with you and your viewers is that, it's not easy to go to the gym. It's very difficult to start this routine of eating healthily. And, especially when you get over 40. I'm 44. And I just
I'm
realized no matter what I
40.
do, and I can't lose weight. And no matter, like, I'm having one meal a day for the last, since Ramadan, and I can't lose any weight. I can't gain any muscle.
What is that
Everything.
one meal that you're having?
The one meal isn't so bad. I've got like, I've bought the George Foreman grills and the rice, and I'm eating healthily. But at the same time, I'll be honest with you, I have had my family has a cake shop around the corner, so
Oh,
I have
no.
been going there. But
Okay.
even if I didn't, it wouldn't make much of a difference. I
On the
don't
way
think.
to the gym.
Yeah, my friend Jim. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, Emma. I probably before, when you've asked me about nutrition, I've mentioned like I'll have the low GI carbs, low glycemic index carbohydrates. So instead of having normal potato, have sweet potato. I don't know if that advice is probably outdated, and actually, if you just switch to high protein, cut out the carbs for a while, go almost zero carb, just eat meat. Eat meat
I
and fish.
disagree. I disagree.
Give it a
You can
try.
eat too much protein. Protein will make a person sick after a while. Now, I'm not sure how it's not
Is it
making Joe
because it's
Rogan sick.
too much protein? Is it the protein that's the problem? I'm just saying, if you go zero carbs for a while and see what happens, I bet the fat will fall off you. Just give
I
it a
think
try.
I think going zero carb is almost impossible. You can't function. They say the mind shuts down.
I think after a while, you go into ketosis. This is the keto
Mm, mm.
diet, and your body will actually start using the fat instead of the carbohydrate. Your body won't burn fat until all the carbohydrate is out of your body. And that's why if you keep topping up the carbs, you'll never lose the fat. Once you've burned off all the carbs, then your body will start going into the fat. If you stop putting those carbs in, your body will have to use the fat. And until that kicks in, you will get low energy and feel like, oh, I can't do this, hunger craving. But I think once that kicks in, you will be more mentally alert, and you will start burning into those fat reserves that are there for a reason in the wild. We needed that.
Mm.
You need to go back into that state.
Have
Because in the
you
wild, we would
ever
have to go without food for a long time.
have you ever partaken in a long fast, prolonged fast?
Aside from fasting in Ramadan, I have also done a 24-hour water fast where I did drink water and didn't eat anything for 24 hours. That's the longest I've done, and that was
I
a long time ago.
have done 72 hours fast.
Did you drink water?
It was at the end of Ramadan, and at that time when Ramadan was the fasting period was breaking, it would be 7 o'clock. Now at 7 o'clock, I would drink lots of water, and the entire body changed. My entire, like, I couldn't sleep. The thing is, the mind would be racing so much. It was an unbelievable feeling. It really was like nothing.
Your mind was racing when you were going without the food.
I would have so much energy.
Yeah.
Ironically, I thought I'd be exhausted all the time, but
I think this is what fasting does. It puts you in a different mindset. I know George St. Pierre, the MMA fighter, he would always get into the ring in a fasting state when he's hungry. And it would, I think we go into something, you know, when we were hunter gatherers, you would be hungry and you'd go and hunt because you had to. I think it gives you a little edge. AM is recommending that you try lots of good, real, proper meat plus fruits. It's great work with only little added slow walks regularly for man. Yeah, real meat, good lean meat, not processed meat. Proper ribeye steak you're good to go for.
I don't know how you feel. I was a vegetarian for 1 year. I gave up sugar for 1 year as well.
Did you?
Not
Same year?
Not in the same year, unfortunately. I think I would have been slim and trim by then. But, you can do it. I mean, I smoked 40 cigarettes a day for 10 years. If I can give them up, you can do anything. And I'm not sure about the fruit. I think fruit could be a problem, what AM is mentioning. Plus fruit, how much fruit? I think that can be equally an issue. With the keto diet, there is no fruit allowed.
No fruit. I have heard we think that fruit is healthy and 5 a day, fruit or veg. Probably veg better than fruit. Grapes are apparently just full of sugar. You might as well be having chocolate. But there's got to be something good in them. Antioxidants, they're natural anyway. But yeah,
I think alcohol comes from grapes too.
Yeah, you can make wine from grapes. You can make alcohol from lots of things.
Do you ever feel guilty you're eating meat? You're eating a chicken, or do you ever feel like, hold on, this thing was alive and I took its life?
No, I don't. I know vegan people do. I don't. I think.
Why don't you?
I believe that we're justified in eating another animal. I think it's okay.
Based on us being more powerful than them?
My opinion.
No, is that your opinion?
Yeah.
So then by that logic, we can have like a gorilla come and attack us and eat us.
Well, I hope we don't. I get the whole vegan thing. I get it. It's just not for me. I don't care enough. Does that make me horrible?
Does that make you insensitive?
I don't know.
To the
maybe,
because look, the chicken is a sentient, so it's an animal just like everything that feels pain. Now, if I was to go and grab a chicken and chop its head off in front of you, you would be horrified. But when it comes to you, the exact same thing is done, and it comes to you on a plate, then we just lose that thing.
Would I be horrified? I don't think I would. I tell you what, though, you can't beat the meat in my local butchers.
Meat's the same everywhere, unfortunately.
Is it for me? Proper lamb and turkey plus bananas work great. AM is eating bananas with his or her lamb and turkey. What do you think AM stands for, Omar?
After morning. AM is probably Amir Mozambique. I don't know.
It could be. I think it stands for Arthur Mitchell.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Tell us, AM, who are you? Why don't you jump on the live? You can click the link that is in the comments. Here it is. StreamYard.com/ /9F946. Oh, look, 666.
Oh,
I don't know why that is in there. QUA. Yeah, come and have a chat if you want.
going back to the boxing,
Yeah.
what would be your reaction if you hurt your opponent to the extent where I think it's Michael Watson that was hurt by Eubank? What
Yeah,
would
that's
be
correct. That's correct. And
what would
there's
be would you go
there's a
back to
clip
would you go back
of Eubank saying it's the only thing I regret in my career, and he's I'm so sorry. And
surprised he never said his life. Just a horrific responsibility on him. Not sure why he said his career.
well, okay, but yeah, it was his only thing that he regret. It's a big regret
In
that
his career though, but I mean, is it probably because it happened
should
in
have
his
said
career?
life.
He should have really said life. But I'm asking you that, could you be the same man? Could you go back into boxing? Because that fight that he had with Collins, Connor Collins, I can't remember his name, the Irish guy.
So you've
Steve Collins.
got Steve Collins, who beat them both.
They had two fights. Now, in that fight, Chris Eubank is losing, and the crowd is unbelievable. It's palpable. The entire fight is just amazing. And probably 7th, 8th round, Eubank is losing, I think, last 4 or 5 rounds. He gives him one great shot. And Steve Collins is just on he's about to lose, and Eubank does nothing. He just stands there. So for a minute and a half, it seemed like he's just standing there, not attacking him.
Eubank lost the killer instinct.
When he went back to his corner, his cornerman slapped him and said, "What the hell are you doing?" And I think you certainly lose that. But I'm saying that, could you go back into the ring? Forget fighting and forget all this, having championship. Could you, knowing full well you've done this, rendered somebody, in Nigel Benn's case, completely blind and deaf and mentally challenged, and on the other side, left the other person paralyzed? Or does money speak? And also knowing that thing can happen to you, does it come back down to money? Or when do you have enough money?
The closest I got was I broke my friend's nose in sparring. And I did feel bad about that. As for real damage, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to think about. I heard Eubank mention that following what happened to Watson, he became more of a points fighter, more of an outside fighter rather than the rough brawler that he was. Not because of fear of hurting someone else, but for fear of getting into a real dogfight and something like that happening to him. It was more a fear of what one punch could do to him.
I'm not sure that
someone else.
That can still happen, even if he's trying to.
But you can be a defensive fighter like Floyd Mayweather, hit and not get hit, or you can be a rough and ready brawler like a Nigel Benn or a Steve Collins. These were very go forward.
If you want to be a
fighters.
hit, if you're going to be a hit and not get hit fighter, then you would be on the Mayweather level. I think even Mayweather did get hit. He got hit a few times, I think, a fair few times. But on a different note, there was a fight between Mayweather and a person, a youngster, I think, named Ortiz.
Okay, possibly.
In that fight, there was a headbutt by Ortiz.
Yeah. And then he goes to shake his hand, and then Mayweather knocks him out. Is that the one?
That's right. Why did after being knocked out, why did Ortiz get up and meet him and say, "Hey, it's okay, let's do it again. Everything's fine"? Why didn't he say,
well,
why didn't he say, "What the hell did you do that for? You knew I wasn't ready"?
Maybe he's a better class of fighter than Mayweather. Better class of gentleman.
If he was a better class, he wouldn't have headbutted him. He wouldn't have headbutted him in the first place.
But he apologized, didn't he?
Yeah, but apology. I mean,
he was a repentant sinner, like the prodigal son.
Well, that's a quick recovery from an attacker to a person asking for mercy, I guess. But even now, Yeah, but he could have still said to Larry Merchant that I can't believe he did this to me. Okay, fine, he did it, but I want a rematch. I want to, and he could have at least stood up for Larry Merchant when Larry was being abused in that way.
And
I
then
wonder why he
Larry,
didn't.
if I was 40 years younger, I'd kick your ass.
I think he said 50.
50, okay, 50. Well, then he must be, what, how old is he, 70? I don't
Well,
know how old he is.
He's an old timer, that's for sure, and I think he's retired from boxing now. So
You know a lot about boxing, Omar. You know all these names of commentators and
I don't think I do. I'm not.
champions.
I can't say I don't. I just I guess I just remember some things, certain things. I'm not a
Well,
huge
all
boxing
right,
fan.
come on. Let's have a little. We'll have a boxing quiz then. We'll have a boxing quiz. You hit me with a boxing knowledge question, and I'll hit you back with a
Well,
counter
I've
punch.
already lost this boxing quiz, unfortunately, because I really don't think I'll get any of your questions correct.
You
But I would.
will. All right. Who did Cassius Clay first win the World Heavyweight Championship from? Who did he beat the first time he became champion?
Cassius Clay rings a bell. That name. I think it was the gangster person, namely Sonny Liston.
You got it. Boom.
If the Ali
You're
movie is correct.
Very good.
But I will ask you a question. Why do you think Tyson Fury, after getting up from the canvas and winning all these fights, so many fights he won, even the hardest puncher Wilder attacks him with that brutal knockout kind of punch, and he still got up on the last second. Do you think that he lost his only 2 defeats? Was it because he didn't get that 10-second rest on the canvas?
Maybe it would have been better to go down. Well, the first time when he was getting battered around the ring and it looked like the referee was going to stop it. Sometimes it is better to take a knee than stand there taking the punishment. We've got Adil. Okay, that's what the A stands for. Adil, are you with us? He's clicked the link.
Hi, Ivan, how are you?
Oh, very good. How are you doing? Is it Adil? Have I got your name correct?
Yes. That's why I heard your question about the AM significations. Or
okay. Well, we wouldn't have guessed it. Adil, this is a very just name. Are you a very fair person?
Yes.
Excuse me. Can you repeat, please?
Your name is very just and fair.
Yes. That's the meaning of my first name. Yeah.
Fantastic.
You got it right.
Welcome. Where are you from? If you don't mind us asking.
I'm from France.
Okay. Bonsoir. Tu aimes le boxing anglaise ou le boxing française?
En général, je suis plutôt arts martiaux.
Ah oui.
Plutôt dans la philosophie, plutôt du côté Shaolin, le côté Jiu-Jitsu, plus dans le côté là.
Beaucoup de sport.
So I like the spirit of those I said before, but I'm not into it.
Okay, but you like the.
Well, Mr. If I may, Mr. Adil, we in England we study French when we are in school, and after school, very few people carry on learning. So I'm very surprised that Mr. Julian here has been able to communicate in this. Sir, do you speak Arabic? You said your name is Adil. Do you have any Arabic heritage?
Yes, of course.
When?
So I was born in France, but originally my parents are from Morocco.
Maghrib.
So Maghrib. So we talk kind of Arabic, specific Moroccan Arabic language.
أنتم تتكلمون دريجة هناك أستاذ؟
أتكلم الدارجة.
دريجة, yeah.
It's different from the formal Arabic language talking Arabian Peninsula.
Yeah, me and Julian, who are fluent in Arabic, for us, it's very annoying when we go and travel in the Arabic world, and when people speak Darija or their local dialect, and we speak Fusha.
Yes, Fusha.
We speak Fusha language. Why isn't Fusha language more common than it is? Where do you get Darija from? What's the roots of Darija?
I think it's quite a hard question because the roots comes from far with regard to the formal Moroccan and Sultana Empire, former empire, where before Arab came in the Muslim era, there were mainly Amazigh people. So, as Amazigh is one of the oldest ethnical group in humanity in Africa, and their language were not the Fusha at their times in other in former eras, and so I think that through history, through migrations, colonization, etc., I think it ends up with a slightly different Arabic language, because even if it's not the same as the Fusha, the Moroccan language uses a lot of
similar
Fusha words.
This will be my last question, and I'm sorry, and then I'll give it back to Julian. It's unrelated to what we're discussing now, but I had the pleasure and honor of accepting the religion of Islam on the last day of Ramadan. And I went through the Quran in English, and I saw things that were, it's like somebody telling you about WhatsApp 500 years ago. I just had to accept that there's no way that any human could be a part of this book. I accepted this on the level of English. When I look at just so many things that I looked at, and I just thought, look, what am I doing? I just have to accept this. Now, I saw this in English. Is there something in Arabic, assuming you can read and understand Fusha Arabic completely, is there something a million times more if you read it in Arabic and understand the whole Arabic in the Quran, as I understood it in English?
So it's a quite interesting question, and in fact, I'll begin with answering that each time you translate, you betray. Each time, it's a fact. Each time you translate, you betray it. And furthermore, Fusha is the most rich language in the world, with more than 160,000 words. So, for example, if you translate from the Fusha to English, or from the Fusha to French, you cannot translate literally. And usually, it's still a problem, even if with a basic communication, your message can be misunderstood. You know what I'm saying? And so, if you really want to penetrate the real sense, you have to read it and to understand it in the Fusha.
Absolutely. And the mentions, like things like the DNA. I mean, this is something so new to the world, but this was in the Quran 1500 years ago. And you are right, it has to be translated. It has to be in Arabic. I understand that the right thing to do is study Arabic and have a high standard of Arabic to really understand. But when we look at just the people, most Muslims are not Arabs. And most people are not Arabs as well. So people accept this teaching in the local language, whatever that might be. There's Indonesian Muslims, as you know. There's Muslims in Fiji, and they read the Quran in their own language. Would you say Islam is a religion that it's not really about just reading the Quran, it's about living the Quran. Do they have to, is the message of Quran be upright, be the best that you can be? Do you agree, or do you think that it's more about learning Arabic and studying and focusing on the Quran?
I quite agree in the sense that to me, the moment you adhere by heart to Islam, to me it's absolutely a nonsense to not go to the roots, to the genuine thing. And to me it's also sad that the Ummah is coming deunited by the fact that Fusha is not the common link. It should be the common link. And to me, it's a shame. It's a failure of the person in charge.
Absolutely. And the strange thing is, we hear the Holy Quran, and I'm sure Julian will testify to this. And I've sat with many of my Spanish friends, and we've listened to the Quran, and Polish friends and so on, and they listen to this rhythmic, beautiful, mellifluous Quran, but nobody understands anything. And I feel that the Muslims, you hear these people singing and reciting the Quran so perfectly, but nobody understands a single word. And I do agree with you that it's a shame, although they do recite it so beautifully, and I agree, and it's great that they do, but it's a shame that they haven't studied Arabic. And I agree with you that it's something that needs to be the number one thing. Now, this is going to be my last question. I'm so sorry, Julian. I've taken over your show here. This is going to be my last question, and we can't really speak much about this, Mr. AM. But this is a simple question to you, and I'll be off. Why do you think that we have a situation, as you know, and you have to, you can't mention the countries if that's okay with you, because this channel would get into a little bit of trouble. But this is a question regarding the conflict. Obviously, we know that there's things going on in a country. Why isn't the Muslim world uniting to help the poor people, and, as you know, the suffering that people are going through in that country? Why isn't Morocco, not specifically Morocco, there's another, 65 Muslim countries perhaps. Why is there no unification for them to go over or do something at least say, that's it, we're not going to deal with you? Why is that not done, in your opinion?
So to me, it's a question that is related to a lot of parameters, to history, to how the power, in fact, to whom belongs the power nowadays, even before all of us were born. And the problem I mentioned before with regard to we deunited, with not having in common the Fusha, which is at the heart of the faith, shows that without union, there's no army. If with no army, if with not union, you cannot fight.
Yeah, absolutely. The Fusha is one thing. For learning a language is one thing, but for lives to be lost and that pain and suffering to be going on there, surely every person you speak with, there's billions of Muslims. If you speak to them, if you speak to the leaders, if you speak to everybody, they would say the same thing. Arabic, we can still differ. We can still have a question mark around it, but everyone agrees that this injustice shouldn't be taking. And so why isn't? And it's not necessarily there needs to be an army that does anything. Why are the countries like just not at least boycotting? I think maybe Egypt did it for a little bit. Why can't we just give up McDonald's? Like, I went to Morocco a few months ago and I was shocked to see McDonald's and busy and everything happening. Perhaps not to what they were, I agreed. But, you know, why can't we just boycott Coca-Cola or boycott, you know, some other shops? I mean, and that's on a basic trivial level. Why do you think that is? Is it because I can't allow you to say we are not united, because you don't really need to be united to give up a drink or you stop going to a coffee shop. What says you?
I disagree about the fact that the union is not a key point. I disagree kindly. And furthermore, with regard to the face, it's absolutely clear, and is also misunderstood with regard to the Ummah, because it's clearly once again determined that with regard to Islam, it's absolutely forbidden to use trade and business as a weapon of war. Absolutely forbidden. So for Muslim, it's not the way.
Julian, what would be your response?
Even if your enemy in the time of war, you perfectly have the right to continue to have trading in business, but not in weapon of war. That's it. Trading in business should never be used as weapon of war. Never. And what's happening today in the world? Who's using economics, finance, trade, and business as weapon of war? You got the answer.
AM, with respect, I slightly disagree with you. Perhaps I'm misunderstanding the situation here. I feel like, for example, the host of this show, Mr. Julian, if he has a shop, and that shop, if he knows that, and if we know that, let's say some country is doing evil things upon others who are weak, I wouldn't go to his shop. I would say, hold on, this guy, he gives millions or whatever money he makes, he gives them to this country, who then gives it to their army and so on. And what do you say to what I'm saying? If I know that he's doing this, do I not have a right to say, look, I don't want to go to Julian's shop, I'll go to AM's shop. AM is not doing this. Am I misunderstanding something?
Once again, to me, the rule is clear. For a Muslim point of view, the rule is absolutely clear. There's not something to interpret or something difficult to understand. Trade and business are to remain outside of weapon of wars.
I have actually heard Sheikh Imran Hussein say something similar to what you're saying, Adil. I have heard that mentioned, and I can.
No, I'm not denying it, Julian. But I'm trying to. This is what I'm trying. We're trying to understand here. I know Sheikh Imran Hussein is a good friend of yours, and I think you have a meeting with him in Portugal, and I look forward to watching that on your channel.
Sure.
But what I would say here is what I'm misunderstanding, and perhaps what the Sheikh or perhaps what AM is saying, and I'm misunderstanding, that if local people shouldn't be affected. Like, for example, if we all stop going to a particular shop, that shop has workers. Those workers have family. They have families. They have bills and stuff. And I think it's on that line. But at that time, at the time of the Prophet, was business as such? So were there organizations that were investing money into companies that would then give money to the people who would attack them? You see, the logic is flawed in a way. So I think I'm misunderstanding something here. This is what it is, and I need to really do some more research.
The rules comes from the times you quote, from the time of the Prophet himself, be peace upon him, and he faces wars.
So, Adil, where does this leave us? Adil, if I may ask a question, where does this leave us in regards to things like the boycott, divestment, sanctions movement, the people that are calling for a boycott, do you
Yes.
believe that they are incorrect to do so, given that ruling?
I think that the answer is not to how can I say that, to cheat. If you're Muslim, in a point of view of a Muslim, if you want to be fair, you know what to do. But that's not mean that has nothing to do as a whole in humanity. There's a tons to do, but it's always the same problem. Who to talk to, who to trust, with whom to work, even at the micro level. It's extremely difficult. And that's the problem, because they worked so well long time ago to have the real problem we have nowadays is the financial and the economical enslavement of the masses, and almost everybody worldwide that is fully selfish.
So, I mean,
that's the real problem, because remember the revolution that occurred in Iceland? I think it was
What happened in Iceland?
in 2011.
I didn't know.
It was a peaceful revolution.
Okay.
Iceland people disagree with what the government was trying to enforce.
Mm-hmm.
And the people together decide to stop. Not going at work, not going at school, stop.
Beautiful, yeah.
And it works. And that's the power the people we have. And that's why they fight so hard to have us so united everywhere. Because it's so easy and peacefully to stop, disagree, stop the economy. It won't not even last 1 week.
Agreed.
Yeah, like what they call a national strike. I'm sure Heiko Koo would agree with that one. Look, gentlemen, I'm gonna wrap it up, but really appreciate you both coming on to chat to me.
Absolutely. AM, it's been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to you being on the live again sometime
We'll
down
try
the
to do a
road.
few more of these. Thank you, AM. Share it round, and inshallah, we'll do it all again.
Thank you.
We've been
All the best.
discussing Chris Eubank Jr. beating Conor Benn and the religion of Islam. Do it all again soon. Thank you, and good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.